Spencer says, I know you've talked about mental health on your other podcast quite a bit, but I'm hoping you might have a message specific to musicians as it pertains to social media. How much time do you personally spend on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, etc.? Do you ever fall victim to the likes, comments, and self-esteem issues that many other artists do? If so, what do you do about it? This is a great question, Spencer. I really like this one. And what he's referring to, my other podcast is All In with Adam. It's mainly a philosophical / psychological podcast that's just centered around general self-improvement and a lot of deep introspective thinking might be a good way to describe that podcast. And so I've talked about mental health quite a bit more over there. Link is in the description if you guys want to check out All In with Adam. But specific to musicians, yeah, man, there's definitely, that's my whole relationship to social media is music oriented. It always has been. I have never had, aside from All In with Adam, which is a relatively new, other project that I'm doing, I never had a phase where I used Facebook and Instagram and YouTube for personal stuff. For me, it was always music oriented, which for me is synonymous with saying it's career or business oriented. So I never got sucked into a lot of the personal stuff that people get sucked into on social media. I never had just an I'm Adam Instagram where it was just my food and stuff that I was doing. I never really did that, maybe for a very brief period of time. But I never got into it. It was always InstaChops or Orlando Drummer. It was always that. So in a way, I feel somewhat removed. It wasn't always my personality that I was putting up onto the internet. And I have definitely played the game and experienced what it's like to have your self-worth tied in to social media numbers, YouTube views, comments, likes, getting the approval or perhaps the disapproval of, massive amounts of strangers on the internet. I know what it's like to have your day impacted or your emotional state impacted from getting those comments, positive or negative. I've been there and I've definitely felt that before. But there is one element of this that might be very unique to my story that makes me feel kind of immune to some of these thoughts, and that is that I always felt like I got the early approval from the internet. When I made drum lessons 10 years back, there was very few people doing that. And so it wasn't difficult to stand out, to get positive attention because you were just, it was like a rare breed of people that were into doing this before there was really that big of a market. No one really knew if there was a market or not. And so it was relatively easy to get the consensus industry approval for the content that I made. So that was nice, and I got the shit beat out of me a couple times too from putting out content that was either bad or clipping floor toms or I missed a note here. People will let you know so that they keep you in shape at the same time. All that to say, this stuff all bothered me a lot more back in the day than it used to. And one of the things you asked is about my current relationship, how much to these platforms, how much time do I spend on YouTube and on Instagram and on Facebook? My answer is as close to zero as possible. Instagram specifically was one of the first ones that I kind of bailed out of. For me, I'm on Instagram, I would say about 5 minutes per day. 5 minutes per day. I actually don't have Instagram on my phone. Not on here. It was uninstalled over a year ago. It's on this iPad, actually, which I don't carry with me everywhere. Who carries an iPad around? That's a weird thing to do. Not that old yet, but I have Instagram on this iPad. So what I will do is open once a day. I will make an Instagram post and then I'll go through comments and I'll try to respond to anyone that, that needs a response. If I have DMs, every once in a while, I'll check them and then I'll post a couple of stories and then I'm out. I mean, you can see my followers on Instagram. I follow, who is it? My wife, my other podcast. We got an Instagram for the farm that we have here. And I think I follow UFC. Because I, getting the schedule updates when the fights happen. It's easy to open my iPad and check that. But yeah, I am by all means unplugged from that entire app. I hate saying this with such a definitive statement. It being super definitive about this, it might not be the right way to say it. But I think for the most part, a large portion of what these social media platforms are could be described as poisonous. It is not good for you to spend 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day on social media platforms. I genuinely believe that it is harmful to your psyche. It's harmful to your being to spend your time that way. And of course, that's not to degrade all of the amazing things that social media can do. I build a business on social media. I owe a huge debt of gratitude to Instagram specifically, to YouTube specifically. And I can't even begin to compile a list of all of the things that I have learned from apps like YouTube specifically. But when I think of how 90+% of the user base on those platforms chooses to engage with the platform, most of the time, they're not participating in what I would describe something that's like a free choice, right? You're being fed things that are designed to entertain you, to capture your attention, and to keep your eyes on the screen for as long as possible. So for me, my relationship to YouTube, I don't subscribe to anyone. I don't subscribe to my favorite YouTubers. They'll never get a subscription from me. I will type their name in every single time that I want to watch one of their videos. I will click on their page, I will go to new videos, and I will click the video. I would rather spend the 10 seconds opening YouTube and treating it like a tool that I have full control over instead of handing the reins over to the platform itself and saying, you show me what I want to watch. To me, that's the line that I have to draw. Instagram is the same way. I'll never go to the explore page and just see what's on here. No, if there's an Instagram that I know I like, a person that I know I like their content, I'm typing their name in, I'm clicking their page, and then I'm interacting at my own discretion. I choose when and how much I interact with these platforms, not the other way around. And so for me, this has been a really healthy line to draw on all of the social media platforms. I keep control of my relationship to this at all times, and that means keeping my feeds empty. On Facebook, I have unfollowed every single one of my friends on Facebook. My feed says cannot load every time I open it up. It shows me nothing because I've said to Facebook, I'm interested in nothing and I don't want you to show me anything. If I'm going to use the tool that is Facebook, I'm going to use it exactly like a tool. I have to choose to open this up and type in what I'm looking for. And is that inconvenient? Marginally inconvenient sometimes, but what I get from that is ultimately, like, the app doesn't even function how it's designed to. Like, you open the app and you're going to spend 15 seconds on Facebook when your news feed is empty because you realize, like, oh, there's really nothing I want to see so bad that I'm going to type it in. But all of a sudden, if Facebook was like, hey, remember 3 weeks ago when you watched a video of like a car getting picked up by a tornado? Here's another one of a car getting picked up by a tsunami. And you're like, oh, that's kind of crazy. And then 4 hours go by, right? To me, the line you have to draw there is to say, you're not to Facebook, to say, you're not allowed to show me things. I'll tell you what I want to see when I want to see it. And man, this has totally reshaped and redefined my relationship to these social media platforms. So on all of them, it's the same thing. Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all the same thing. They show me nothing. I choose to go spend my time and attention where I see it appropriate, not how Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube does. So that's my personal relationship to these platforms, and it has been super, super helpful for me, man. I would recommend anybody trying that out. It just sort of removes you from the entire game that people seem to be playing, and I think it's ultimately to your benefit to do that. So, you know, take it or leave it. I think depending on who you ask, some people might say they're totally unbothered by by playing the game that is social media and really allowing their culture and their life and their belief systems and everything to be shaped by social media. But I'm just a fan of maintaining a little bit more control over your mental health, your mental stability, and really just, you know, you dictate to the world how you're going to spend this time, the content that you're going to consume. That should all be within your control at all times. And so, yeah, that's my recommendation. You know, take the reins back if you can. If that's within your capacity to do, I think it's the right way to do it. Thank you for watching this clip from the Orlando Drummer Podcast. And while I have you for the next 20 seconds, I'd like to formally invite you to come check out orlandodrummer.com. It is my online drum school, very much in the style of Netflix. And there you'll find over 160 hours of content waiting for you. That's like over 50 drum DVDs. Trust me, you will find something you like, and it would be my honor to help make you a better drummer. Free 7-day trial at the link in the description. I will see you guys there.